Everybody, good morning, happy Monday, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips. Sorry for the late start, Justin had a ReaperCon meeting go long and the disembodied hands and feet had to run back to the studio to start the stream. So as a consequence, I actually have paint already mixed up. Hey Trouble, thanks for the resub. Yeah, how was everybody this weekend? It's getting warmer out. We drove to the Mojave Desert. I think that's the desert. I think that's the Southern California desert. We drove to the desert to meet my parents. And it was prettier than expected, I thought, but I like deserts. And a hello from Reaper even. It's either Disembodied Hands Justin or Disembodied Hands John, and we never know. We never know who's actually talking to us. It's the great mystery of Reaper, right? Let's see here. It's always Justin? Oh, Reaper John is John. So Reaper Miniatures is always Justin. Got it. Well, it runs into... David was looking up geography while I was driving, and he said it runs pretty much into the Arizonan desert. My parents were driving to meet us from Arizona, and we were driving down from the South Bay. And for the most part, it's actually a pretty drive. I mean, it's a lot of agriculture in California up to a point. And then you hit a mountain, rain break. Which the mountains there are beautiful. That little strip of mountains that separates you from the desert is gorgeous. You managed to survive Rax and recover? Good. That's great. That's a relief. But yeah, I always enjoy driving in this state because it just shows you how crazy the number of biomes California has, how crazy a number. Because, you go from San Francisco, which is cold and wet and rainy, to the South Bay, which is sunny and glorious and kind of really moderately temperate. And then you start driving and you hit all these farmlands and you see mountains with freaking snow on them at one point. And then you get to the mountainous biome and then you get down into the desert. It's just crazy. This is a very large state. Hey, Karinico. Whoa, 21 months. Crazy talk. Pendrake, my back has given me no issues since I started doing yoga every morning. Since I started doing after the first week or two, starting around week 3, and I think we're in week 4 now. I'm I was able to do that drive yesterday and my hips were very much complaining, but the rest of me, my legs. But once I got up and stretched, I was fine. That drive would have broken me in the past. So yeah, and they also have a temperate rainforest biome. So yeah, California's got the biomes, all the biomes. No way, Numbat. Super. Thanks. Thank you very much for the sub. We appreciate it. Reaper appreciates it. Alrighty. Well, I think we're working on the jewelry today. I wanted to switch it up. Although I really like how the wings are going here, and we'll continue that next time we do Sphinxy. I wanted to actually get this jewelry and get her fur and her tail tip done. Make a decision about whether I'm going to do something to her claws. Yeah, when you get up every morning and you do 20 minutes of yoga stretches and mild crunches and, leg lifts, guess what? Your core gets stronger. Go figure. And then it fixes your back because your whole problem with your back is you've got no core. So if you have back issues, I cannot recommend enough doing some mild yoga with a couple of little crunchy things in the morning. Once your back is stable from the yoga, then introduce some mild crunches, just little ones. But yeah. That's what got me. The ones I do, here, I'll write them down on a card and you can just look them up online. There are plenty of websites which will tell you. I looked up a website for back exercises. I looked up a few, Pendrake, but the ones I do, the easy one to start with, here, everybody, this is a healthy thing. So since it's mini painter back stretches. There, back stretches. I'm very scribbly because I'm writing fast. Whee! So cat-cow is where you open, and that does that gets your back flexing a bit, right? And then from there, I do, what do they call it? Bird dog. And that's where you, from your all fours, you lift the one arm and the opposite leg, and you would like just stretch them out. And that's where you start, I would say. And then the other one you can do from there, straight from there actually, is slide your legs back and do downward dog. And don't worry, keep your knees bent if you have to on downward dog. Don't try to push it. Just try to get, the important thing is to get your ears in line with your arms, not have your head sticking out. So those are your starts. Those are your starts. And that, just practice like doing some of that. And then the other one that's very good for back is bridges from on your back, where you're like elevating your butt, and make sure you tense your butt. Like, I didn't realize that I thought I was supposed to lift with my abs and back, and that's not the case. So these are the 4 to start with. And then you can like look at some other yoga exercises. The other one I do is just forward fold, is also just a good one once you've got some balance. And again, keep your knees bent if you have to. Just always adjust. Like yoga, the great thing about yoga is it always is like adjust. Griffins could be. Hey, I want you all to be like able to paint for long periods of time without breaking yourselves. So, and stretch every 45 minutes when you're doing stuff. But yeah, I mean, just doing that stuff can help a lot. I think that's pretty much. And then if you start to feel a little bit like just like a little bit strained, you can go back and do cat cows again, because they're just a nice relaxer. They like flex your spine and make your spine kind of remember that it's a spine. And after that, after I was pretty solid on that, I added some upward dogs. So you can think of all the dogs, right? Upward dog, downward dog, and bird dog. But upward dogs are a little bit more strenuous, so they're more exercise. But they're a back bend. You're lifting your whole body up with your front arms, essentially. But yeah, so those are your starts. And then from there, I added in some crunches and some Pilates moves. But only after I was strong enough to handle it. So there you go, guys. There's your starting, and it doesn't take long to do at all. I do like 5 cat cows, and just to start, just 3. So like 2, one with both arms 3 times, and then a downward dog that goes like 5 seconds to 20 seconds, depending on how I feel. And then I do like 5 to 10 bridges and just 3 forward folds. So like, we're not asking you to do it 20 reps or anything either. But yeah, just remembering it's often enough just to engage your freaking core, right? Because we all just slouch over and paint or at our computer games all day. Have our arms in weird positions as we mouse for 3 hours, right? Mouse and click. Yeah, if forward fold is, you can just go halfway too. Actually, with forward fold, what I like is put my hands on my knees and just stop there and just kind of lengthen my spine. Stick your butt out too. When you bend, always stick your butt way out. It might feel like you look silly. Don't care about looking silly. Care about keeping yourself stable. Do not think that you really, when you bend, you do not just bend, you actually bend where you're like there, where you're sticking your butt out. You don't want to try to bend like this. You'll fall over. The things that people do in the name of not looking silly, or don't do in the name of not looking silly. I've given up. I'm willing to be silly. Yes, if you can't get on the floor very easily, that's true. And always use a mat when you're doing floor exercises. Like, get yourself a yoga mat. They're not really expensive. I actually get a Pilates mat because it tends to be a little thicker. I like a half-inch cushion. All right, let's get some jewelry done on this model. What do I want to do? Do I want to just do little... Yeah, I think I'm going to use Tiny Brush today. I want to do little touches. It's evening to you, Chris. Yeah, sorry for the yoga digression, but I really, really, really do... I mean, I've had such great benefits from it, so if it helps you guys, because I know you all want a hobby until, we're all 90, so if it helps you guys keep healthy and mobile and hobbying, I'm all for it. All right, so I already did block in the base coat on this gold. Let's get a little closer to little Sphinxy and make sure we're in focus. There we go. We're going to do the little jewelry today. You can see I already did underpainting, which is essentially painting in black and white the areas that I want to really stand out. It was especially important here because her fur is such the same color as the gold. So really popping the highlights and shadows here and getting the lining around the jewelry was important to make it cute. 9 cents. Yeah, even just some stretch breaks, even like just bending back and letting your head kind of like fall backwards instead of always bending it over forwards, Makes a big difference. Big difference. Just moving and getting out of your box, you know? But yeah, I want everybody to be able to enjoy their hobby. And, you know, when you get that kind of back pain, it really impinges on that. And, uh-oh, I think I need this paint a little thicker. Where is my rich leather? I have a bottle that's almost dead. So this is rich leather. It's about 6 drops of rich leather to 1 drop of lantern yellow, which is my difference maker for gold, as opposed to going bronze, as I add a lot more yellow. Nope, I got a little bit of rub off on her fur there. Well then, that's easy to fix. But yeah, I go a lot more yellow with gold to differentiate it from bronze, because bronze and gold, for me, start at the same point. They both start with rich leather, 9430. Because that's just a great kind of dark, it's this color kind of on her leg shadow here. We'll block it in a little bit. Ah, I got a little bit too much water on my brush. Yoga and meditation and stretching every day. Oh, nice. Powerlifting. Yeah. See, and that's what you can add in too, you know, Pendrake is just a little bit of weights. Just get some, like, you know, just some dumbbells if you want to. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, if you do yoga and you do stretching and you do, you know, weights, you're going to be fine doing all the hobby stuff, right, Chris? Because it's just your core is nice and strong. So you can hold yourself, you can abuse yourself a little bit without, like, totally breaking yourself. But I had a terrible core. Like, when I was in college, I used to go out and do, like, crunches and weights and stuff, and I really loved it. But I lately had definitely gone away from that, especially because we have a gym here on the apartment property, which I love. I was so excited. But then, you know, when I got here, it was COVID, and so the gym was closed. So David and I started doing some yoga, and I really liked it. So I transitioned to doing it every morning. I twitched my back about a month ago, and I was so frustrated with it finally. I just was like, screw it. I'm going to start getting up early every morning and doing just 20 minutes of yoga and stretches and a little bit of core work. And it has made all the difference. I mean, if you would have told me that I could have fixed my back for 20 minutes a day, like, I would have been on that so long ago. But, you know, nobody told me that. So, I mean, I still get some back soreness, but soreness is fine. You just don't want the stabbing pain and the sharp pains. Soreness just means your back is tired. Rich leather walnut brown. Don't forget your brown liner. But yeah, totally stretch breaks. Stretch breaks by themselves will be fine. Okay, so we've got our gold blocked in. So I haven't done my little white dots here. The little white dots, by the way, are gemstones, but they're just not colored yet. If you put down, the secret to getting small, bright colors and touches of color is to put down white first and then paint your bright color over the top of it. And it's going to make it look a lot brighter than if I tried to put it over this leather color, gold color, or Good, Chris. Yeah, I'm a convert. Like, I used to try Pilates, but Pilates was just seemed so intimidating after, like, the first baby moves that really I had a hard time with it. And yoga was a lot gentler to start with. And now I feel I can go back to Pilates and actually, like, really get into it. But Pilates was a bit hardcore for me when I first was looking at core exercises. Like, I like the moves, but there was no way. Like, yoga, I think, has gotten me stronger enough so that I could do the Pilates moves. I think I would have hurt myself otherwise. Yep. Yeah, I meditate after my walk. We have a fountain in our courtyard, so I like that as my meditation spot. There we go. All right, just touching up a little bit, getting our little white dots in there. Might need to go and hit that a little harder, but that's all right. No, brown liner and brown ink are absolutely not the same, and brown liner is far more recommended, Olaf. Brown liner is an actual paint, and ink is essentially a wash that's made differently. Inks tend to be shiny, so be aware. If you want a matte finish, you need to go washes instead. And inks are best used over metallics, because then you don't care about the shine if you want a quick shade on your metallics. But I far prefer the liner. Like, liner is regular paint, so you can mix it with other paints, which inks I wouldn't recommend. So I would say very, very, very different. Liners are paint. They're chemically different from other paints in the MSP line because I wanted them to be able to do really thin lines easily without much thinning. And I also wanted a certain amount of transparency, so they were really good for washes if you build your own. And also that you could thin them so you would get a less cartoony line, a less harsh line if you wanted. So you can adjust them. Yeah, my hobby. No, the painting community is not hardcore. Like, there are places where it might be, but I think even with some of the Europeans who are ultra competitive with each other, it's still everybody gets together and has a good time. Like, this is the best competitive environment. Like, everybody challenges each other to be better. Like, you could go up, even if you were, like, competing against a person, you know, the day before, you could still go up to him the next day and ask him for a critique, and he'd be good about it, in general. Like, you know, every hobby has its bad apples, I would say. But in general, there's a lot less ego in this hobby than you think there is. Citadel Shades, I think they're just glossy washes. I mean, they could be inks. I'd have to test them, Big Apple. I haven't picked them up. But if they're glossy, then they're probably playing on GW used to do a lot of inks, so that may be a modern version of it. However, I suspect that it's just, like, it's equivalent to a wash. Nowadays, the difference between inks and washes is, like, minimal. Usually it's just the finish. Because in the old days, they were actually chemically different, where inks would be dyes and washes would be pigment, which are very different colorants. It's not just Reaper, though, Inara. Like, I've noticed it, you know, even talking to, like, the Europeans, like Kirill and Sergio and them. Probably the biggest, well, I don't know. I don't know what the biggest challenge is now in mini painting as far as socially. I think in America, we do a pretty good job of, like, you know, females and males both being welcome and all different genders being welcome. And I think that I'm not certain what if there is a downside, I'm not sure what it is. I think we've done a pretty good job. And again, you know, there are always going to be people that aren't as accepting or, you know, that are kind of rude. Like, I, as a female gamer, have run into these people. But in general, I find that the hobby is more accepting. All right. I just need to touch that up. COVID. Yeah, me too, Chris. That's my whole shtick, really, is teaching. And encouraging new people to try out the hobby. All right, let's see here. We have a round surface. And it's kind of in shadow, frankly, because it's her torso is overshadowing it. So probably we're only going to get highlights. This is where you got to kind of generalize. I'm using Tiny Brush here so that I can get very controlled color. I could use a bigger brush. But I would have a lot more work to unload it every time I wanted to put paint on the model. And I would be risking a little bit more just haphazard paint application if there was too much paint on my brush. So I'm going to do kind of a diagonal here because a lot of the main light hitting this is going to be coming in kind of through here and through the back of the arm there. So I'm going to, instead of doing just a straight up and down vertical highlight where I did up here on her torque and stuff, down here it's going to be more where's the light coming from, and that's where I'm going to hit kind of my highest highlight. And this big piece is probably the most important one to nail that on. If you can nail it on a larger piece of jewelry, you can generalize on all these tiny little things, just put a spot highlight and it's going to carry just fine. So like when you've got a lot of little stuff like this, concentrate on your big pieces, on getting the NMM right on your big pieces, and everything else will follow. Because then your little tiny touch pieces or your little tiny bits of NMM become like, everybody will assume that those are right because this is right. Yes, never feed the trolls, exactly. Yeah, Big Apple. I mean, well, we want you to enjoy your hobby and to meet your goals, because nothing makes me happier than having somebody like become like something they never thought they could do, right? Like I think it was Andy Pieper who came up to me last ReaperCon and thanked me for like encouraging him when he was just a forumite hanging out on the Reaper forums. And now he's a professional sculptor, and he would never have dreamed that he could get there, right? But I mean, you encourage people, and sometimes they can, reach for dreams they never even admitted they had, right? Because they thought they just couldn't do it. So always, always encourage people. I'm going to put a little bit sharper highlight here. I missed the eagle on her chest before, so I'm just going to, or the falcon, I should say. And so I'm just going to touch that real quick. Don't have to do a lot of work on it, just a bit. Needs a little bit of work. So I'm wondering if I can get Sphinxy done by the time I do my miniatures auctions in April and sell Sphinxy, guys. I'm considering it. I'm considering selling Sphinxy. I've got a little bit of debris on here. I need to get it off. One moment while I take a knife to my paint job. Yes, I know. It looks scary, but it's not. There we go. Much better. Yeah, I did... I'm keeping my rock troll. I know that. I like troll miniatures too if they're well done. My rock troll with my gemstones on it. He's in the case currently. To signify that he is not going to be sold or sent to Ron. Everybody on my shelf of doom is either going to be sold or sent to Ron at Reaper. So I'm doing a promotion where I'm actually selling off some of my work in April. Which is rare, because I don't sell a lot. Not many people have Anne miniatures, actually. Not from the modern day, for sure. It's been a long time. There we go. That's nice. Yeah, Kerniko. Well, you gotta encourage everybody. You gotta... If people are trying stuff, I mean, always ask if somebody wants a hardcore critique or if they are just sharing, right? First of all, that's the first rule. Because you don't want to land on somebody with a hardcore critique if they're not ready for it. It could discourage them. But if they're ready for a hardcore critique and they tell you they are, then still sandwich it. Still tell them good stuff along with bad. As humans, we tend to focus on the bad stuff, and it's important to also focus on the good stuff. And it can be hard to remember that. I don't know what I'll start her at if I sell her. At least 200, I think. Like, I start... When I do offer pieces for sale to my patrons, I do start them a little lower than I normally would. Normally, I'll tell you I won't do a figure for under 250. A normal-sized figure. But for you guys, because you're supporting me on my Patreon, a lot of you, I'll start a little lower because you are... I mean, obviously, you're already supporting me, so... You get a special deal. But yeah, Sphinxy would definitely start around 200, 250, I think. I would feel bad if I got less for her, so that's the real test. And then I have a lot of stuff I have to get done by the end of April to do that promotion, because I also want to get my Sky Earth NMM tutorial done, so that's kind of the $10 promotion. And then I'm working on my doing Zoom seminar thing. I have a lot on my plate right now. It's probably why I've been feeling pressured the last 2 weeks. I've been feeling really pressured because I've added this goal for myself. If it's a little later, if it ends up in May instead of April, I just have to let it go and do it then. But at least I'm working on it. All right, there is a little gemstone in the middle of that jewelry. So once again, I'm just generalizing. I do want to hit a high highlight in there. Highly scrying eye, how's it going? Hey there, IR Sculpts. Yeah, Sphinxy is like getting there. Like I'm trying to get the jewelry around her waist done today. We have wings. The undersides are mostly done. I need some highlights and some details. And then the back side of the wings, both wings, is looks like that. So Sphinxy is really awesome and has very pretty wings. And we're just doing some stuff with the jewelry here on her waist that I hadn't finished yet. I need to get her tail tip done and highlight the fur down her back. After that, and after the wings are done, I got to get the claws still. I haven't decided how I want to highlight up the claws. Yeah, Kraniko. Hey, the puppy fund is a serious thing. It's the puppy fund and actually the Anne fund because I don't know. I worry a lot about making enough to live on. I think when you go freelance, you just lose sleep over that in general. And I have been stressed out about it lately. That's why I want to do this special promotion for the Patreon. Maybe get a few more people in there. And I've been working hard on clearing out my commission load so that I can, you know, clear those and get paid and take on new commissions. Just gotta hustle a bit more, that's all. Just a little more pressure. Freelancing is definitely not for everybody. The uncertainty of the paycheck and having to really, really work it out. Yeah, it is. It is IR. I mean, on the one side, it's great to work for yourself, right? And to try to figure out what works for you as far as like a work schedule and what kinds of work you want to do, right? For mini painters, there are a lot of different things you can do if you're a full-time miniature painter and teacher, instructor. You know, some people really, really do classes, and that's where they get the majority of their income. And I love my Patreon, so I really love to focus on the Patreon. Don't want to get too many highlights on these little gold bangles. They still have to read as gold. I think that one got a little bit unyellow. You need that, Mayabi. Actually, it isn't even ambient light. If you look at the actual structure of the face, the jaw cuts in, but then it flares out at the bottom, and you will get a minor highlight, not as high, but a minor highlight at that jawline. Do not neglect that. It will aid your face painting to put that in. When you are doing like your first highlight or so, and you've got that shadow in the cheekbone, make sure you hit that jawline, the point of the jaw. Patreon.com/paintingbig, Mayabi. In fact, Quindy just linked it. It's in the chat, baby. Yeah, I do tutorials on there. The $2 tier, I tend to do more introductory stuff or basic stuff. But there's also lots of just really good stuff in the $10 tier. And then the $5 tier is where I talk about Master Series Paint a lot since I made it. So I break down colors and give triads for them if they don't have triads, and talk a little bit about how best to use them or what they might be good for. So that's the $5 tier. And as soon as I get my kind of some of my curriculums outlined and kind of broken down, the $5 tier special offer is going to be I'm going to be testing my new classes that I'm constructing, and you guys will get into those classes like cheaper. Patrons will, I mean. So you guys, essentially I need patrons to help me kind of test the class offerings. We're going to do Zoom, I think, but not sure about Zoom, but I'm working on it. So we can do some seminars. Because that's, people have been asking for it, so I'm like, all right, we will give it a try. I'm not a Zoom fan, but I will give it a try. Mathophile for the helping me test classes, it's $5, and for the, if you want to actually bid on like models and stuff, that's the $10 tier. The $10 tier is also going to get a PDF for Sky Earth NMM that I'm doing on my bust. Oh no, her head fell off. But I'm working on a tutorial for that. So So both an actual tangible thing and like then when I put up, it's a thing right now that when I do sell models, they go up for my $10 and up tier. So I'm just planning. I have been very sporadic in putting them up, and now I am planning to put up a load of them, at least 3 or 4, all at once. Doing a sale. I need to get some of these minis into homes. It's like puppies. It's like when you have a litter of puppies. I want to rehome these miniatures. I have a lot of them, and I don't need to keep them all. I need to touch up that spot that had scraped off a little bit. Looks like I've got a little bit. There we go. A little bit of paint that's there. Perfect. Ooh, look at you. 10 months. Yeah, it'll go for the auction I do online. Yeah, and then of course we're going to do Zoom on the thing. But the auction goes for about a week, Mathophile, when I put up a mini. So these will be up for about a week to 10 days, just like an eBay auction. And everybody just bids live. So it's no hidden bids and all that crap. The only rule is that if you win one, you can't win 2, essentially. Because we want everybody to have an opportunity. All right, let's get some gold on this shiny gold on this back jewelry parts. Yeah, the $10 tier is more showy, advanced stuff. But it's still useful. I still cover a lot of concepts. I mean, some of that stuff isn't all that advanced. Like what I'm doing right now with the dramatic lighting. And I just finished shooting this video the other day. But like showing people how to do more of a dramatic lighting effect so that you can definitely see the demarcation between shadow and highlight. And you can see where the light is coming from. That sort of thing. And then doing the block out of the zenith to set it up before you start painting. Essentially, you set it up with the zenith, and then you paint the white and black over the zenith to make it essentially better, improve it, and then you use this as just a paint by numbers. So when that comes out, that's $10 tier. But I like to do a little bit more advanced stuff. A lot of my $2 videos I would call fundamental videos, and what that means is like these are videos that I want the concepts that I want everybody to understand. Like if I think a concept or a technique is really important to becoming a better painter, I'll put it at $2 tier. Because at that point, if you only got $2 a month because you're a starving college student, I don't want you to not be able to get to my videos. Right, exactly, Mathophile. Oh, you like her? Yeah, she's Games Workshop. It's, what is it? It's that small skirmish game they did. Warhammer something or others. Underworlds, I think. And this is Beastgrave. Yeah, Warhammer Underworlds, and this is the Beastgrave expansion. So there are there's a centaur and a few fawns. She's really cool and dynamic. I love her pose. So I decided, David got the Chaos one and took the Chaos ones, and I took the kind of Sylvan ones. Is it Warcry? Maybe. Maybe. But that's, yeah, and that would be okay for maybe testing. That's a good point, Pendrake. It would be good for testing my concepts. And then when I actually offer bigger seminars, like public seminars that are not just patrons. Yeah. Underworld. Yeah, they're all, with these little boxes, they really went out and tried to do dramatic stuff for the little centaur guys, or little fawn guys in the centaur. And there's a kitty cat, too. There's like a forest, a sylvan cat. Big cat. So yeah, I really felt like painting those, and so I decided to use her as a tutorial. For dramatic lighting effects, choosing a dynamic figure is a good idea. So it was just an excuse, really, for me to finally put some paint on those. David has been working on his Chaos ones. They look really good. no, too much. Lost my shadow there. Got to keep your shadow on your bigger pieces of NMM. It's the rule. You got to have your highlight and your shadow, and then your reflection. So you got to keep your shadow. Yeah, I very rarely go for GW. David is more likely to be looking at the GW site than I am, because I have some things already from them that I want to paint, like those elves, you know. And now we just got our Camelot Kickstarter from Big Child guys. Those models are swank. Those are some of the best 75mm models I think I've ever seen done. Like, just the detail and the design and the precision of the sculpt. Like, they are almost flawless. Like, it's just gorgeous. I should show you guys the Green Knight, because he's my favorite. Like, I thought I was going to like Morgana better, but dang. Yeah, they're amazing. Chibi, they're really amazing. I can't show the Morgana because she's half naked, you know, because topless. But the Green Knight is just, like, amazing detail. So hopefully, I hope those weren't just Kickstarter only. I hope Big Child makes them available in general now that they're fulfilling, because they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. And if you're into Arthurian myth and legend, they're kind of like a spin-off, but you can still recognize the characters for the most part. They're just really, really nice. So basic NMM, right, is a highlight. Oh, here we go. Highlight, and then you gotta leave a shadow, and then you got a little bit of an under reflection. When you're doing just basic little bits like this, all you need to do is hit those three points. Is make sure you've got your highlight. And you do generally want some pure white, and then you want to keep your under reflection just general. My top got a little bit too light. When you're working with small things like this, you lose the color very quickly. So don't over highlight. You want to keep enough of your golden color so that it does actually read as gold. That could be very challenging on these small surfaces. Yeah, GVD, aren't they beautiful? So, David, we both got Morgana Le Fay because she's just a beautiful piece with all those birds. And then I got the Green Knight and David got Merlin. I was tempted by Merlin, but I decided the Green Knight looked very cool. And you know what I would use that, speaking of Warhammer, you know what I would use that Green Knight for now if I ever had cause to play it. Not that he's a character right now, but the old Wood Elf army, Orion, the King of the Wood. Oh, that Green Knight would be a kick butt Orion. Like, seriously, so good. Let me finish some of this, and then maybe I'll drag the Green Knight out and show you guys. Or maybe I'll do it tomorrow during my personal stream. I think I'm gonna have to put the D&D game on a little bit of a break, because I was running D&D on my stream on Tuesdays for everybody, but I'm feeling so pressured because of all the things I'm trying to plan for the Patreon right now that I feel I really don't feel, it doesn't feel good to spend time on the game. Like, it just is stressing me out, and I don't want more stress. So being freelance and trying to, like, you know, make sure that you're making enough every month is hard enough. So I think I'm just going to be painting on my stream, my personal streams. I'll paint my competition and high level pieces and work on some big stuff like the halfling I've been working on. I can show you real quick. I don't want to, like, you know, I hate to show other company stuff on Reaper's stream. I don't mind flashing it real quick, Twisted Oma, but I don't want to, like, show you guys and spend a bunch of time on it. So pretty much mostly with these little guys. With circles, normally I would have, like, the top half highlighted and then a little highlight on the underside, and you'd put, like, pinpoints of light at, like, the cardinal directions, but mostly the white goes up top, and you keep it like a light gold down below. But these are so small, sometimes you have to just generalize and put a highlight up and down and leave a bar of shadow in between and not get too precise. Painting is a stress reliever, stratocumulus, but that's why doing the D&D game and trying to plan it and, you know, doing all that takes a lot of creative energy. And running the game takes creative energy. More creative energy than painting. So Yeah, it would be it was a Bretonian character, but this one is so big he would be a perfect Orion. People who have not run a game I think don't get like sometimes how stressful it can be when you're trying to really balance your time. Like, I don't want to take time in the evenings to do the game because that's the only time I have to spend with David. So I've been holding myself as much as I can, but I still end up working in a lot of the evenings to do video editing or something like that. So work-life balance is a thing, and if it means I have to drop the game, then I'm going to drop the game. But I'm trying not to drop the game and just to put it, essentially, give it a little bit of a hiatus while I work on this Patreon stuff. When it comes down to it, if I'm going to run a game, I need to be feeling like I can have a sustainable, like, life. So... Yeah, exactly, Astro. And I do like to do it well. Like, I like to spend time, like, developing story arcs and character arcs and making sure that things make sense and keeping track of NPCs. And it does. It takes a lot of work. And that means that, you know, and it's taking energy away from other things. And I just realized last week that it was really starting to feel bad. And that's it. If I have to disappoint people, I'll disappoint them. But then again, you know, people also seem to show up just when I paint. It really is it's a big question mark for me on Twitch right now, what to do. It's the reality of trying to freelance, right? It is weird. It is a weird thing. All right, so now in the big pieces, we have to be a little bit more realistic, right? Or a little bit more... so this big triangle piece is kind of the key piece. So if we can nail our NMM on this, then everything else will follow. So right away, you're going to have your highlight, not white, but a highlight color up there. And then your shadows are going to be right under that. And then down here, it's going to catch the light again at the bottom of that chevron. So I'm going to grab some of that color. Yeah, Shadow Raven, exactly. So, yeah, we're going to put the game on a bit of a hiatus. I mean, I've still got all the characters, and I love them, and I still want to run the game, but, yeah, we're gonna take a break. We're going to take a break until it doesn't feel like I'm totally stressing out because of it. Which may be several weeks. We'll see. But I do tend to stress and workaholic, and so I need to watch myself on that. I know this from past experience. Okay, so we got a little bit of that highlight at the bottom part of that triangle. It's not very bright. We could probably bring it up just a little bit more, but we never take our under reflection up to pure white. Your reflection, your downward reflection that isn't necessarily catching the bright sunlight is not going to be as bright. So your white kind of gets caught at the corners here or in the middle, and it's up to you the way you'd like to do it. I tend to like put it in the corners, even if that's not quite realistic, because I like the contrast with the shadow below it. And then I want to do that shadow a little bit darker. Go ahead and scream into the join. Right, exactly, Pan. That's what I was thinking, is I need to pause it before I'm completely burned out. When I still like it, you know, when I'm still excited about the stories and the characters. That's exactly it. Like, because I've got people's NPCs that they gave me for Gold Star that I'm really excited about, you know, and introducing those characters. And I want to do that, but I can't do it if I'm just not feeling good about it. Like, I can't do it justice. I'll just be kind of burned out, and it'll be obvious on stream, right? It takes a lot of energy to be a GM. You have to, like, really portray all the characters, and if you want to be a good GM, which I always do, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of creative energy, and it takes a lot of energy when you're actually running the game. Because you need to keep everything moving. And if you're low energy, it's really hard to, like, keep the characters moving. You tend to just kind of want to slide and not work at it because you're tired. So Yeah, I love running games, but they're definitely work. And we've been running this for a while now. Like, my personal live stream Strato is painting big again. So it's twitch.tv/paintingbig. And lately I've been working on here. I at least have her close to hand. I put the Camelot stuff away so I wouldn't be tempted by it. But I've been working on this big 75mm halfling assassin rogue type by Black Crow. So we've been doing texture on her cloth and stuff like that. Oh no, not a full week of Mondays, Bob and Julie. Hi. So we're working on Sphinx's jewelry today instead of wings. Oh, nice, Nomad Zeke. Thank you. 44 gift subs, Nomad Zeke. Dang, you have been gifting. Yeah, I do this stream every day, Strato, and then I do my own personal stream just on Tuesday and Thursday. Usually working on stuff, like I said, like that halfling, stuff that I'm working on for me or for competition. The halfling started out as a just for me, but now I'm thinking of adding enough bells and whistles that she'll probably be entered at ReaperCon eventually. So I could talk a little bit about my choices that would differentiate just painting for me versus actually raising her to the level of competition painting. And I mean, there's not a huge difference there sometimes, but putting in that little bit of effort is usually the difference. I'm just trying to get these little tiny highlight bits and make everything stand out. I'm glad you like the emotes. Yeah, she lost her head. All my miniatures are without heads. David is like, what is it with you with headless miniatures? And this has been a tradition of my painting since, like, I was painting Warhammer. I would always leave the heads off because I wanted to paint them separately. And all my characters had no heads. So, anybody who worked with me at the old game store in Madison would totally, back me up on that. Anne's characters never had heads. They knew it was done when its head got glued on. I haven't gotten one, Big Apple. I got the hobby box because I really wanted to experiment with the hobby holder, which I actually really like the feel of. But I actually didn't get the big box. I looked at that 75mm piece. It did look like a fun sculpt, but I couldn't rationalize because I didn't need the rest of what was in the box, so I couldn't rationalize it. Is it still available separately? Putting a little bit more gold tones back in my little jewelry here. But it is getting really shiny. It's standing out from her fur. That's what we really wanted, remember, because we're using the same color for the base for these, because it's rich leather and rich leather. But bringing up the highlights and the shadows here on the jewelry really makes it stand out. Yeah, I mean, I do run some stuff off the seat of my pants, but with you guys running for the stream, I really feel like I need to have a plot. Even if you choose to diverge from it, I need to at least know, all of the variables. A good GM will never railroad. A good GM will figure out, like, several different ways that things could get to point A or B, Like, you'll figure the characters are either going to do this or this, and they could be wrong, and then you have to go off the fly. But if you know all the other variables, chances are you can extrapolate correctly, right? It's like writing. When you're writing a chapter and you have to get your characters to point B or C, and then your characters decide to go over to D, but because you know your world well enough, you can get them from D back to B if you need to. All right, putting some little highlights up on those top little gems. Oh, Ghost Ship. Yeah. That's cool. But will you have the Ghost Ship? Oh yeah, Kickstarter fulfillment, right. I don't know, they said that the containers have been moving, so... Alright, just getting a little bit of highlight up into that little... Not many people are going to look at these little bits of jewelry because her wings are so big and pretty that they're going to really overwhelm overwhelm the jewelry quite a bit, but I want enough attention on the jewelry that it's at least done. And then we can get to that. Yeah, mostly I can't wait until we can have a paint club again locally. Hopefully we can get one. Well, we're going to get one going one way or another, because if somebody else doesn't do it, I'll do it, because everywhere I have ever lived, I have started a paint club or joined a paint club. So one way or another, South Bay is getting a paint club back. I'm hoping that the people who originally kind of organized it will organize it again. But it's like just finding a place to do it, right? So we've got people in San Francisco and people in Santa Cruz and people in the South Bay and all sorts of people. Hello, Strength 10 Gaming. Yes, happy holiday. Or happy hobbying, not holidays. We're not in the holidays. We've just escaped. Okay, no individual purchase yet. Thanks, Big Apple. Yeah. Yeah, we'll know. I mean, eventually. It's nice to see Reaper do a big mini again. When we launched the Master Series miniatures line, which was 54, it was kind of ahead of its time. It was before people were so interested in the Reaper group anyway. It was kind of before people were really interested in doing 75s or 54s. Now I think a lot more people are interested in big models because so many gorgeous ones have been put out, and consciousness about the kind of the benefits and the differences of working on bigger figures has become more prevalent. And so people are more willing to maybe try a bust or try a 54 or a 72. You could do so much more with texture and detail on a bigger sculpt. Whereas with a 28, you're definitely limited. Like, you can still do textures, but you're much more limited in how much you can suggest. We almost have these guys all, like, kind of set up. Once I've got all of the gold set up, then we're going to do the little gemstones. Paint Club. Well, I used to do it at Reaper, and before Reaper, I did it in Illinois, and before I did that, I did it in Baltimore. And so Paint Club is essentially, I set a day, usually it's a Saturday. But sometimes it's had to be in the evenings, but most of the time I put a weekend day. And it's essentially a 4-hour span, usually from around noon to 4, because it's a nice block of people can get lunch, settle in, and then sit and paint for a while. And in the past, when I've run Paint Club, I'm an unofficial instructor. So essentially, if people need help when splat, I would help them. Just because, at this point I can do pretty much any technique and teach at any level. So for 4 hours, you just sit and hang out and talk, talk video games, talk movies, talk books, talk whatever, and talk painting. And everybody sits and paints together. And so it's a way, if you have trouble making time for your hobby during the week or at home, you can go to Paint Club and actually get something done, right? Because you've left the house specifically to paint. So when you go, you will paint. So it's that kind of thing. It's a social thing for mini painters in a local area to get together. Yeah, if you're gonna do big minis, I mean, you can still paint. I would say, Seanald, though, it gives you a lot more room if you just paint a 75, pretty basically highlighted and shaded with lining. Chances are it's gonna look just fine. Don't put too much stress into it. But 28s, painting 28s, well, I mean, it's all about contrast. And it's still about contrast a bit with the bigger mini. But it's also about attention to detail, I think, on the bigger mini. A little bit more, in some ways. It depends. It depends on how you your take on it, right? So, it's I don't know that it's an unpopular opinion. I mean, it is your opinion. Here we do not have popular or unpopular opinions. We merely have opinions, and you are welcome to share them. Personally, I love bigger models because for me, I've been painting 28s for so long, right? And you definitely get burned out on scale sometimes. Like, I found that a good way to get past burnout for me was to either switch genre or switch scale. So if I'm feeling burned out on small models, I grab a bust or I grab a 75. And if I feel burned out on bust painting, I grab a 28. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I don't know which is easier to start on, right? That's a really good question, actually, that your unpopular opinion has brought up, Shawnold. Like, if I stop and think about it, I'm like, is it easier to paint a 54 or 72 to start on that scale? Or is it easier trying to paint little? Like, the historical guys that I talk to are all like, we don't know how you guys paint 28s. Like, the detail is so darn small, we can't do it. Like, we're just, like, amazed at what you can do. They all paint 54 or 72 or busts because they can see everything, right? They're like, I can see all the details, it's all very clear, none of it's too little for me to hit, you know? So you could argue that painting bigger models maybe is an easier way to break in your brush control. You could make that argument. But at the same time, you know, I think if you learn 28s and you get good at 28s, that makes it a little easier to transition. Heh. Funny, Cornico. Yeah, yeah. And if you like painting monsters, you may actually like painting larger scale figures too, Chewy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Shadow Raven. See, that's kind of my point, is if you put a basic level of highlighting and shading on a bust, it's probably going to look fantastic. Like, it's only when you're really going for high concept where you're really working on textures and interesting surfaces. And busts reward that, right? But you don't have to do that to get a good looking bust. Yeah, I don't know, Twisted Oma, because the historical guys would disagree with you. Because it takes better brush control to hit the tiny stuff on these little guys, right? Like doing these tiny little jewelry on this Sphinx here, and she's even bigger than a standard 28. So I guess it's your mindset then. It almost says to me then that it's the way you're looking at it, right? Terrified of messing them up. You know, if you mess them up, you can always just paint over them, no Medzik. Just use thin paint when you go at it. 75mm figure, it's easier to do the eyes because they're bigger, 9 cents. I think. They're larger, so you have more room. Like, I find it much harder. I do both, and I find it harder to get my 28mm eyes looking correct. I don't need nearly as many touch-ups and corrections on bigger. Because it's easier. It's a larger surface. Alrighty. Looks like maybe I need a little bit better of a highlight up there. But yeah, I mean, if you'd like to go, everybody, all of the scales refer to 6 inches or 6 feet. So like a 1/6 scale is 6 increments for 6 feet. So it's 12 inches. So essentially 1/6 of 6 feet is 12 inches. And so a 1/6 scale figure is equivalent to a human figure that was a foot tall. So like the Overwatch statues that I like to paint, those are about a foot tall for a normal sized human. And so those are 1/6 scale. 1/10 scale is if you took 6 feet and you divided it by 10, and then that would be the size, and I think it's around 8 or 9 inches, of a human figure sculpted. So when you see a 1/10 scale bust, if that entire thing was sculpted instead of just the head and shoulders, it would be around, 8, 9 inches tall. 8 inches, I think, technically. Oh, it's past stretch time. Thanks, Cornico. We got all, into it. Yeah, well, Big Apple, both the sculpting is really good, because, I mean, this is hand-done. Julie did this Sphinx with traditional putties. But, it also is, 3D sculpting enables a lot of sculptors to do really fine stuff. Stretch time! I've had cheapy eyes on a mouseling. Yeah, if you start thinking about 1/6 being just 1/6 of 6 feet, so 1 foot, and then that's the size of the whole figure, then you've got it, Chanel. Then you can kind of extrapolate, right? So then 1/12 scale would be like half of 1/6, right? So then you've got essentially it would be a 6-inch tall figure if the whole thing was sculpted. So most busts, not the Grudge from Reaper, but most busts these days are sculpted at either 1/10 or 1/12. So they'll be, do your stretches, everybody. Yeah, Chewy, this is Julie Sphinx. She's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, a 28 millimeter varies. Everybody talks about scale creep pan, right? And it is real. Like, you know, it used to be 25 millimeters, and now they look so tiny. And people say 28, but usually today's 28s are actually between 30 and 35 millimeters. Some companies have just flat out gone to 40 millimeter, like Limbo. Essentially, if it's not a gaming figure, then you're more likely to see a bit of scale creep, because then it's what they're thinking is it's easier to paint, right? It's if it's slightly larger, the eyes are slightly bigger, the details are a little bigger, it's a little bit easier to paint probably. So yeah, Bob, Julie and the Sphinx are both fantastic. Yes, indeedy. Well, she's technically, I mean, in D&D they have that she would be the Gyno Sphinx. You know we always pump up your ego here. You know, your self-image is safe with us, Julie. We're always going to tell you you're awesome. Do your stretches, everybody. If you've been sitting for more than 45 minutes, get up, stretch. Make sure your spine remembers that it can bend back as well as forward. Make sure your shoulders, like, pull your shoulders back. That's one, because we all tend to, like, be doing this, right? And our shoulders actually should be, like, back. So yeah, it's a lovely mini. Sphinx, here's your item number, Chewy. Artist Julie Guthrie. Sphinx 77576. It's a very easy number to remember. So yes, definitely go out and buy Julie Sphinx. I'm going to do some cat cows, and then we'll get up and finish dealing with our jewelry today. And I'm feeling pretty good if I get that done, although if I can get the rest of the back mane and the tail tip done, I'll be even happier. There we go. Alrighty. Excellent. Sphinxy. We're back. Yeah. We do need a Sophie bust. Yeah, that's true. That's true. When you know you have. That's why I've stopped buying, because I have the Camelot Kickstarter, which just came, and then I have my Muses Kickstarter that came before that, and I want to paint all of those. And then we still have to get our Limbo Kickstarter, which is shipping next week. So I'm just like, oh, I'm going to have so many. Like, that's why I need to get this halfling done. Like, seriously must get halfling done, because I'm going to be getting so many beautiful models. Like, I've got this box. I'm hiding it next to my computer, case. My desktop case on the floor. It's hiding because I'm not permitted to get distracted by any of these new beautiful figures. I need to actually finish painting some. It's terrible. And then every model I just start to do a nice simple paint job on, I end up like thinking, oh, but I could put textures and freehand on this, right? It's just terrible. I'm like, this halfling was supposed to go very fast, and she's slowed down exponentially when I decided I was going to do textures and weathering. No. It's Catnat. Do what I do. Do what I'm doing. Make a box And right away at the beginning, like, sort through some stuff, pick out maybe 3, put everybody else back in the box, put the box out of sight, out of mind. You will not feel overwhelmed then. You'll just have 3 minis to deal with. Unless one of them is a pirate ship, then you might feel overwhelmed. Oh, don't even, Kerniko. I already have a Monster Hunter World Kirin statue. I don't need anything else. I don't know when I'm going to get to that. I'd say not urban legend. I like the armor details. I mean, I own my Siren bust that I was working on is kind of just a nude torso bust with very little ornamentation, but it's hard to make that fun. Yeah, one of them is the pirate ship. Well, then you have to decide if that's one of the first ones you want to paint or not, Catnap. But otherwise, put everybody out of the way. Out of the way. In the closet, under the table, under your bed. Any of those places works. Garage. That works too. But yeah, that's how I deal. In fact, I just sorted through all my miniatures to pack them away a little bit nicer in the closet so I could open up more room. So that I could... And then when you're done, or when you're like feeling bored or burned out on the models you have, you can go and open that box and it's like treasure all over again. You get that awesome opening thing again because you haven't looked at those for so long. So it's really a good strat, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good strategy too, Omadar. Well, that's what I do for the stream here, right? We've got 6 minis, and I do a different one every day, and we do a rotation. All right, I think our gold is almost done. I just need to get that. And I think I want to raise up my angle a little bit more. Raise up, focus. There we go. Yeah, I really like it, Catnap, because it really does help me to stay excited about stuff. Like, I find if it's out staring at me constantly, it gets old, right? Then I'm like, oh, that again. But when I put things away out of sight, then when I open them, it's like I'm almost opening them for the first time. And I can get excited about it again. And that's wonderful. I love that. So that's my tactic that I've adopted. And if I start like getting kind of really not excited about a mini, I'll pack it up and put it away in the closet. And then, a couple months later, I'll open it up and look at it and see if like, oh, hey, I remember this. And look, it's almost close to done. Or, hey, I got some serious progress done on that. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. So maybe eventually it'll actually get done. All right, I'm going to grab some pure white and make sure that I've got a little bit of a pop of highlight right where I need it on each of these. But yeah, it's kind of delayed gratification then, because you don't have everything out staring at you, and you can embrace different ones later on when you're feeling like you want something fresh. I have some really beautiful stuff in my box under my table, and I'm just like, it's nice because then when I take it out, I really do feel like I'm looking at something brand new. All right, a little bit of a pop-up highlight up here on these guys. And on little tiny micro bits like this, I think that using the very small brush is a very good thing. It allows you to more easily control the amount of liquid on it if you're not used to unloading your brush a lot. Downside is you have to load it more often because the paint will start to dry in it a lot faster than using a bigger brush. So, All right, there we go. We got little bits. Right, exactly, Deborah. You can get under pressure, right? Yeah, it's empowering yourself to like, I was getting that feeling too with regard to my Patreon and all the other stuff. I was starting to feel really stressed out and really under pressure, and then I'm like, no. Take a deep breath, step back. You're in charge. You can decide what to work on every day. Not if it's like an ache, Pendrake. If it's a sharp pain, then you probably need to like rest a little bit, but you should continue to stretch. Like if you don't stretch, the pain's going to get worse. Like that's what they taught me last time my back went out, was they're like, you may feel like lying in bed is the only way to deal with this, but it actually is going to make it worse. So stretching, the more if you stretch regularly, like stretch a few times a day, and you feel it's getting a little bit better as you get through the day, then you're good. You're good. Just keep stretching, just gentle stretching. And when you're able to handle gentle stretching without a lot of pain, that's when you start doing like cat cow. Maybe you do, a little bit of that and a little bit of bird dog. But you've got to move. You've got to move. Your muscles want you to move. They're yelling at you because you don't move, but I've learned the difference between a twinge and even a twinge is okay as long as then it just, is kind of an ache. An ache and a cramp are okay, but it's like when you get a sharp pain then you gotta adapt something. It took me a while to realize that an ache was actually pretty good. It meant my muscles are tired, but they're not like having a big problem. It's not a back spasm, right? Back spasm feels a lot different. Alrighty. We have gotten all of our gold done, so let us get out our turquoise, our lapis, and our carnelian. Also known as cyan blue for our lapis. Also, the color that's in her wings is also cyan blue, so we are repeating colors around the model. My turquoise, I think I usually use Surf Aqua for my turquoise color. But I think I was also maybe using, I think I want to use some Phantom Glow or maybe some Tianzi Jade as kind of a shadow for that. Just to richen up a little bit, because the Surf Aqua, that is actually Copper Verdigris. Where did my Surf Aqua go? There it is. There's my Surf Aqua. That's much better. I think, yes. So to maybe green that up just a little bit, I might add a little bit of the Tianzi Jade. So usually those, and then the carnelian I want to do a red with just a touch of brown. So cinnamon red would be actually a great call for that. I don't have cinnamon right in front of me, so I'll probably use heraldic red and add like a little bit of like tarnished copper to it. Add a little bit of some sort of brown. But if you have cinnamon red, that's just about perfect out the gate. Oh, yeah. Yep. Red links, absolutely. If your back is spasming, like it's got really, like it feels really just bad, it doesn't feel right, then yeah, do what Red Lynx is doing. Apply heat or cold. Cold usually. If you've damaged it, you need to apply cold Pendrake. But you still should just do some gentle stretching. Like even if it's just arms over your head, because you want your muscles to get flexible and to get stronger, right? But you don't want to do anything that's going to really twinge you, really make your back sad. I mean, I put my back out and I felt pretty darn bad. Like I couldn't even bend over. It was bad. But it's recoverable. It is recoverable. I am proof. All right, let us figure out. I think I want to start with where my red is going to go. And then I'll work out from there. My red is kind of my central key. Like big pieces of red and blue, and the turquoise is more of an accent, as you can see. I do a lot of red and black as well. So those are all traditional like ways for, Egyptian jewelry to be styled. But yeah, hopefully you can recover from it like with just a little bit of stretching and work. Don't give up, Pendrake. We know you can do it. Oh, yeah. Man, I stretch for everything now, Red Lynx. I used to be such a bad person as far as, I don't need to stretch before I walk. Now I always stretch before I walk. All right, so we're going to do like 3 drops of heraldic red and 1 drop of tarnished copper. We'll at least get our reds blocked in. And that tarnished copper, I mean, you could use, like I said, you could use almost any brown. Russet brown would work, although it'll take it a bit darker. The nice thing about tarnished copper and red is that they're about the same value. You can see the tarnished copper is just a little bit darker, but not too much. So it's not going to change my red too much, but it is going to add that kind of orangey brown color that the stone would have. I'm going to put 1 drop of water in that. The more you thin it, the more that white ground color is going to show through. I don't want it really thin, but I do want it Just a little bit transparent, which with reds is easy to achieve. So this 1 drop of water will be just fine, I think. All right, let's get our brush back in hand. We aren't going to get to her mane and her tail tip and her claws today, sadly. And putting it over this. Like I said, putting it over this white base makes it look brighter. And you don't want your red too browned out. See, you can see how nice and red that looks. Because if you do brown it out, it's not going to show up as easily as red in these little tiny gemstones. Let me see if I've got another precedent for these. Not really. I think I'll just alternate. So, red here. Red here. I'll make these big ones red. All of my largest gemstones I'll do red. Make them stand out. And I'll also do some shadows and highlights on these big guys. And for these guys, I might just do blue. Well, no, because her mane is going to be blue. So maybe I'll do all red up here. Because I know the blue highlights are going to go down here. So doing the red actually works, I think. Yeah, I did find, Pendrake, that icing my back actually helped a lot. I got, like, just a refreezable ice pack, gel pack. And the ice helped much more than I thought it would. Like, it really got me back to a good middle. So I hope whatever you do, whatever strategy you employ, I hope it helps. Because back issues suck. Especially for mini painters. I think I'm also going to do red down here on the bottom of this back jewelry. Just kind of spreading out the red so I can alternate in some turquoise and lapis. There, that's good. Yeah, Red Lynx, I hope you feel better as well. It does suck. It just so sucks. I've been there recently. Yeah, I really wish we had a whirlpool tub. We do have one in the complex. But it's still a little chilly out for me to get in a swimming suit. Even if it is to go in a hot tub. There's a long enough walk back. All right, so these little beads on the side here, I'm going to make the middle one red. And then everything else I'll be able to fill in with my other colors. There we are. Excellent. And I think I'm going to make these turquoise, the little hangy down bits. Sweet. And for highlights and shadows, you really don't have much room for shadows except on these really big ones where you could do a darker color up near the top. You could use a purple, or you could just mix a little bit of your walnut in with your red. To do kind of a shadow in the upper part. In the middle of that shadow, you want to put a highlight. This is the, as they call it, the Games Workshop way to highlight round gems, and it works just fine. That was a little bit too big there for that highlight, and also the wrong angle, so I'll touch it up. Gems are like eyeballs. They tend to take a bit of adjusting till you have them exactly where you want them. There's a little bit of a highlight. Yeah, it's because the metal is harder and that the paint doesn't bond to it like it bonds to resins and plastics. It's mostly the harder edges though. I mean, resin will also rub off, but tends to be a little bit softer. The pressure of you holding a metal mini is also increased by the fact that it's heavy. So you're holding onto it a little bit harder. Whereas with a resin model, you can take a much softer, or a plastic model, you can take a much softer hold. But yeah, it does. I mean, that and the primer just tends to be, to stick to the plastic a little bit better. Like everything, there are many, many factors, Mathophile. I think that for me, resin is the best case scenario between those two. It holds detail. I mean, styrene also, of course, but GW plastic holds detail really well too. So I'm just putting a little bit of a highlight in the lower part of that gem. Let me see here. Boop. Where's my, there it is. Up, and you can see my highlight's a little bit too big, so I'm going to shrink it. Really, that's interesting, Cookie. None of these guys are primed that I'm painting. I guess it just matters, you know. I mean, I always have them on a handle. I still get some rub off, like you saw on her haunch. So I'm going to shrink that highlight down until it's more of a pinpoint. There we go. That's more like it. And then we're going to go... We got to do these guys up here. These guys are right on the edge. We'll do this guy. And then we'll... by that point, we should be pretty well into the... Close to done. So a little bit of a shadow. I'm going to choose a light direction. Is it a bones or a bones black, Cookie? A little bit of a highlight. Oh, you had him on a handle also. Just bones, yeah. Yeah. You washed him before you painted him, right? A little bit of a highlight. Oh, that was a little bit long. Oh, the hooded wizard with the staff, yeah. Yeah, you could do a brush on sealer on him, Cookie. There we go. Now we have a nice pinpoint highlight. A little bit of a highlight down below. That's good. And I won't bother with the shadow when we get down to like little guys like this. I'll just do a highlight. Yeah, I would do brush on sealer. It's not a bad thing. Little bits of highlights on some of these smaller gems. Just a little bit. Again, my tiny brush helps me to keep that under control. My white is 2:1 paint to water for this. You want a bright dot when you're doing these tiny micro dots. You want them to be bright enough to show up. Like that. So if you want them that bright, you've got to leave the paint a little bit thicker. Luckily, white, pure white is so strong. That you can get a pretty good strong dot, even at 2:1 paint to water. Which is pretty thin for any other color. But white's really opaque. That just was way small. Let's get that. That one might not be able to get a highlight. It's just so tiny. Close enough. Close enough. All right, we got little sparkly gems up here. Little sparkly gems. Little sparkly gems. There we go. So we've got our reds, our red gems at least highlighted. Up here, I chose to go a bit flatter with the carnelian. I could still add a little bit of a highlight, but I wouldn't want to bring it up too much. Gotta be careful, because that stone is pretty flat. So I don't want it to be too overdone. And we definitely don't want it to go pink. Like, usually I would take like a burnt orange and do highlights with that, but since a lot of these are smaller, I'm keeping it I could also introduce a little bit of orange by just using my gold highlight. So just a little bit of a highlight here. There we go. There. And now back. They're such little touches. Like, very few people will notice them in the grand scheme of things when they first look at your Sphinx. Let's put her wings on because I like to see how she looks. So we have our Sphinxy Sphinx. She's getting there. She's getting there. She needs her shadows and still needs her undersides of her wings done. And then her wings from the back, and we're starting to get all that jewelry mapped in, so that's almost good. And then we need a tail tip and that. And then after we get all that done, we'll do the base. Thanks, Julie. So I was thinking about selling this one, Julie, for my Patreon. We'll see. I'm doing a little sale on some miniatures in a month or so. Month and a half, maybe. But yeah, she's very pretty. Yeah, I was thinking it. Because I wanted to put up one model that was really kind of showy. Like, I've got some of my other pieces that I've been working on finishing, like the Duelist. I'm going to sell her. And I'm going to sell the Storm Chasers Pirate Girl, the one that we did in purple with the blue highlights, which is everybody really likes her color scheme. So we'll be selling her. And then also, what is the one I already finished? Oh yeah, Dragon Guy. Dragonkin Rogue that I did the tutorial on. But I wanted to put up one bigger one. And I think Sphinxy might be done by then. So she might have to go to a new home. But yeah, everybody seems to really like her, so I think she's a good candidate. Good candidate to actually go to somebody new for them to enjoy her. All right, there we go. Wings off. Alrighty, that's pretty good. There we go. We can just put her like happily kind of there. So yeah, there's your Sphinx, everybody. So yeah, we'll do the claws. I think I'm going to bring them up kind of blue-white, kind of like that. Almost like they're blue-black. With a white highlight for the shiny tip on the top. I think we'll probably do that just to carry the blue down again to other parts of her. We still need to do, obviously, the wings and stuff. I think next time, though, we'll finish the jewelry out and do the mane and the tail tip and the claws. And then whatever time we have left, we'll work on the wings a little bit more. But yeah, she's getting close. Like, we already have one basic shading on her rock pile. You can see it. But we could go even further, and I thought about painting part of it, some little bit of features of some of these rocks, putting a little bit of freehand on them. So we're gonna contemplate that. I hope you all enjoyed this. Hey Bryce, how's it going? Good to see you. You been hanging out? Lurking? And Derek. A Bryce and a Derek, both lurking. Boop, there we go, and there we go. Much better. She's getting there. I do like Sphinxy. I always enjoy working on her, Julie. She's just a very enjoyable sculpt to paint. So, very, very enjoyable. Like one of my favorites, I think, of what I'm working on right now. And yeah, pretty soon we're going to get, let's see, tomorrow is Dancing Girl again. So hopefully we'll prep a little green collection bowl. Because I'd like to prep her collection bowl and kind of have it be separate, so that we can paint the carpet tomorrow. That's under her. Paint her rug. And then if I can glue the collection bowl on afterwards, that's fine. Yeah, I hope you guys had fun. I'm summoning Reaper Miniatures. Summoning Justin or John for a raid. But yeah, it's cool. It's Monday. It's grocery day, right? Maybe I'll make some chicken adobo tonight if I feel like I still have energy. Cooking, takes all the energy during the week. I'm like, we tend to go lazy dinner. But we were out of town for the weekend, so I didn't do my usual, cook a big batch of something. Good. good. See you later. Yeah, oh, Pixel Logic. Cool. Let's go. Have some fun. I will see you guys tomorrow, all right? Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you later. Adios.
That it kind of shrinks your mesh a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to make it into either a left foot or a right foot. Turn the symmetry off and